Hi, it's Jamie, and I just wanted to switch it up this week and do a storytime video instead of my usual advice video about college, because I'm still going to kind of stick to the theme of school, but I decided I'd tell you some weird stories about my school. So in first grade, my class went out to recess, and I meant to go to the bathroom before I left because at my old elementary school there was like the main building, and then there was a gym kind of away from everything else. It was where the big kids, like 6th, 7th, and 8th graders used to play. So I decided to go to the big gym to go to the bathroom. But the thing about the gym was that I was easily intimidated when I was little. So it was just like this massive gym to me with all these 7th and 8th graders playing. I think it was basketball. So I walked into this big gym and kind of watched some of the big kids play basketball. And by big kids, I mean 7th and 8th graders. So I kind of watched them as I was walking. And being like the shy kid that I was walking pretty fast. So I practically ran into the bathroom, and after I got done, I washed my hands and went to go open the door. I couldn't, and the door had somehow locked behind me whenever I went in. And since this gym was pretty old, I don't know whether it was that I wasn't strong enough to pull the handle or that the door just automatically locks and I didn't know how to do it. But this gym was really old and it had showers and everything, and it's kind of like a locker room. It's close to a locker room bathroom as you could get without the locker. So this bathroom had showers and typical stalls and sinks. So I stood there for, I'd say 10 or 15 minutes trying to find a way out. And the window was too high, so I couldn't climb out the window, and I was too little. I decided that the only thing I could do to get out was to yell, "Help." So my definition of yelling back then was probably more quiet whisper. So I kept saying help, and in my mind I was yelling, hoping that one of these big kids would hear me as they're passing the bathroom. Eventually, I don't know how long I yelled for help, I hear this guy's voice, and he says hello, and I say, "I'm stuck in here, get me out," or something to that effect. I can't remember my exact words. And he says, "Is there anyone indecent in there?" Because of course there were the showers. It was a very good possibility someone wasn't decent. And I said no, and I'm pretty sure I had the smallest, whiniest voice ever. So, and I asked him if he would please let me out. And I can only imagine what he thought whenever he opened the door to see this itty bitty first grader coming out of the door. I don't even know if I cried or not. I do know I was just terrified. I was there for another 6 years after that incident, and for those 6 years I would never go in that bathroom alone, or if I did, then there was someone outside that I knew could help me unlock the door. But I never had problems with that door since, so I wonder if there wasn't some sort of way to unlock it. The story you're here for, as you can tell from the titles, happened in 9th grade. So in 9th grade I had this agri-science class, and I was just kind of put in it. I didn't know what it was. Because I wanted to be a veterinarian, I figured that it may have something to do with what I wanted. So I decided to stay in that class and stick it out. And it turned out to be a really easy class. But the thing was, no one else wanted to work for their grades. I seemed to be having the easiest time getting everything done and doing my work. So soon, people quickly began to notice that I was making all of these great grades, and their grades were F's and D's, and they decided that they wanted to take advantage of that. So on tests, we had multiple choice tests, and most of the time our study guide was the exact same thing as the test. If you just looked over that and did that before the test, you were good. You knew all the answers. And then even if you weren't sure about an answer, usually there was one answer that made sense while all the others were ridiculous. The person sitting in front of me actually went to my elementary school, and the person sitting behind me I didn't know that well. The girl in front of me knew me well enough, and she knew that I was doing well in the class, so she would look back at my answers, and the person sitting behind me would lean over and look at my answers from behind me. So I had two people, both in front and behind me, looking at my answers, and every once in a while, if one of them got an answer of mine that the other didn't have, they would make the letter with their hand, because we mostly had multiple choice things. After a few weeks of doing really well in the class, my classmates started to take notice. The rest of them did. The first initial two kind of passed word around. So it got to the point where I would go to take a test, and I'd be bubbling in my answers, and I would look over, and there were people on all sides of me leaning over trying to see what I put down, and then they'd write it down on their paper. So I got really tired of this, so I decided to write a note to the teacher, and conveniently, about the time I got frustrated with it and I didn't know what to do, I had an orthodontist appointment and had to leave early on a Friday. So I gave the teacher the note and told her I was leaving early, because I gave her my permission slip to leave as well, so it wouldn't look suspicious. Well, the guy behind me yells at me. His normal voice was usually a yell, whereas mine was a whisper. He asked me what the note was, and I said it was none of his business, which is not at all like me. I just wanted him off my back, and so I walked straight out of the room. To be honest, I was more of a teacher's pet, because if no one else knew the answer, I raised my hand and said the answer. Granted, I wasn't the kid that was there, I know it, I know it, I know it. It was just, I got along with the teacher very well, and she was a really great teacher. And she didn't really like the kid behind me at all. So my comment made her laugh really hard. For over the weekend, she read the note. My note went something along the lines of, "I really love your class, you're a really cool teacher, but the girl in front of me and the guy behind me," and I said their names so she would know, "are cheating off me and pulling my paper out of my hands. I'm really getting tired of it. Can you please move me?" So the next Monday, when I go back to class, we all sit down in our normal assigned seats, and the teacher says that every single one of us are getting new assigned seats. So I was the reason that the entire class got new assigned seats. So if any of you that are watching were in that class, that was all me. I did that. And I didn't mean to, I just meant for my seat to be moved. So she put me in the back of the class, because she knew I wasn't gonna do anything. So, and she also put the guy that used to be behind me in the back of the class, but on the other side, as far away as possible from me. And she put the girl that was in front of me all the way in the front of the class. So she had us split away from each other pretty good. But still, every time I would go to take tests, they would kind of walk around me, or they'd lean over. Everyone else around me would lean over and try and copy me. So I decided that since I knew this test so well, and I knew that what answers were right and which ones were wrong, I decided to bubble in the wrong answers on purpose. So that way, when the tutors tried to copy me, they would copy down the wrong answer, and I could always go back and change my test before I turned it in. Because she never used Scantrons, she just graded everything by hand. So if there were a ton of erase marks on my paper, then it wouldn't really matter. I would get my test back, and it would be like anywhere from a 90 to 100. And then the tutors would get their test back, and they would still barely be passing or failing. So I didn't change all of my answers. I just changed the ones I knew for sure were wrong. I wouldn't change it if I wasn't sure what the answers was to begin with. Just so that way I knew I was giving them the wrong answers without even saying anything. So they continued to copy down these answers for most of the year. And until one day I noticed the kid that used to sit behind me, he was copying them down. And I was feeling in a particularly sassy mood that day, which is very rare. So I said, "Well, you know, you've been copying down the wrong answers off me." And he says, "No, I haven't." And I said, "Well, I changed my answers to the wrong ones, and then whenever I go to turn in the test, I change them back to the right answers, so you're copying down wrong answers off me. And pretty soon, word started spreading around the class that I was writing down wrong answers and changing them to the right ones. My teacher managed to find this out, and as people were talking, because she was sitting in the back of the room, and she starts laughing because I don't think she'd ever heard of anyone doing that before. So for the rest of that year, no one else wanted to copy down my answers. And I was called everything from the devil to just plain mean for not letting them copy down my answers. I could tell they weren't really being mean whenever they said things like that. It was just because they knew they couldn't copy down my answers and be guaranteed that they were right anymore. After that class ended, it was 2 years later, I took another class in 11th grade with the same teacher. It was called Animal Science 1. And sure enough, the girl from 9th grade that sat in front of me and the guy that sat behind me in 9th grade were in that same class too. And it actually had a lot of the same people in the same class. Once we get in there and sit down, the guy from 9th grade again, he announces to the entire class that I purposely write down the wrong answers and change them to the right ones before I turn in the test. So I didn't have that entire class from beginning to end, I never changed an answer. But they always assumed I changed it to the wrong ones and then turned it in as the right ones. So I never changed an answer that class. They just all assumed that that was what I was doing. I only did that in 9th grade just to get them off my back. And I never had any problems with them in 11th. If you have someone cheating off you, just tell them that's what you're going to do. And do it once or twice, but make sure you change your answers back, because I messed up a couple times and forgot to change it. And the teacher knew what I was doing, so she knew if I put something down that was ridiculous, that it was because I had forgotten to change my answer back. So that's how I fixed the cheaters. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hi, it's Jamie, and I just spent 15 minutes trying to fix this camera to the right angle I want it. So, hope this looks decent. The title of this video is probably the story you're here for, so I'll go ahead and get into that. It's weird. Hello? So weird noise.